Welcome to the third part of Unit 1, and in this part we're going to be looking at unit conversions. My take on unit conversions is that there are lots of accepted ways of accomplishing this task. I know 3 or 4, I teach one. You don't have to use the one that I teach. If you have a means of converting units that somebody could look at your paper and follow what you're doing, it's a nice, logically laid out method, then by all means use it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different way of accomplishing the same task. If, on the other hand, you need a refresher course, I'm going to go through unit conversions here for you. So how do you convert units? Well, to convert units, you need to multiply by this thing called a fancy factor of 1, more commonly known as a conversion factor. Now, why do I call it a fancy factor of 1? Well, it's a fraction where the measurements are equivalent, but they don't look the same. So, for example, I know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, so equivalent measurements, but do the numerator and the denominator look the same? No, there's a 100 in the numerator, there's a 1 in the denominator, there's centimeters versus meter. They don't look the same, but they are equivalent. So the next 3 slides are examples for us to work through. The first one, we're going to deal with how many seconds are there in a year. Now, there are lots of ways that you could think about progressing through this unit conversion. So we know we need to start at seconds and we need to get to years. So I know I could go seconds to minutes, minutes to hours, hours to days, and then days to a year. That's one way. Now, it just so happens that you might be a fan of the musical Rent. And if you are a fan of the musical Rent, you know that there's a song in there called Seasons of Love. And in the song Seasons of Love, it tells you how many minutes are in a year. So you might be able to skip steps. You might be able to go to seconds to minutes, and then minutes directly to years if you know that conversion factor. Okay, lots of different ways. Okay, so I'm going to do kind of the first one that doesn't rely on you knowing a song from a musical to show you how this works. So what I do when I convert units is I say, okay, the thing I want to do is convert seconds to a year. So I'm going to start with 1 year, which seems backwards, and convert that down to seconds. So I'm going to let it equal itself. That way I know I have a good equation. 1 year equals 1 year. Nobody's going to fight with me on that one. And then I'm going to convert 1 year, put that in the bottom so that years cancel, and the equivalent I want is 365 days. Okay, now you may quibble with me about that it's not exactly 365 days. It's close enough. Okay, 365 days. And then I could go with 1 day. And again, this unit cancels that one, and I have 24 hours. And then I have 1 hour is 60 minutes. And 1 minute is 60 seconds. And I look and I see hours cancels and minutes cancels. So I started with years. I'm going to end up with seconds. And that number is going to tell me how many seconds I need to get 1 year. So I'm going to pull out my calculator and take 365 times 24 times 60 times 60. And I get an answer of 3153600. Bunk, bunk. So 31,536,000 seconds in 1 year. That's a lot of seconds. Did you ever think about how many seconds were in a year before? What if we reversed the question? What if we reversed the question and asked, how many years are there in a second? Okay, well, there's two ways we could approach this. We could basically do the reverse of what we just did. Start with 1 second, set it equal to itself, and convert from seconds to minutes and minutes to hours and so on and so forth to get to years on the end. Or I can take that number that I just had. I know that, did we say that was 31,536,000 seconds is 1 year. And now to find out how many years are in a second, all I got to do is divide 31,536,000 years. So if I do that division, I get, in scientific notation, 3.17 times 10 to the minus 8 years. So there's 3.17 times 10 to the minus 8 years in 1 second. Okay. Those are fairly easy unit conversions. Let's do something a little bit harder where we have to convert things in the numerator and in the denominator. So, cheetahs can run at speeds up to 75 miles per hour for short bursts. And I want to know what that speed is in furlongs per fortnight. Why? Because I can ask that. I have no idea when you would use the units of furlongs per fortnight. But it makes it kind of fun. Okay. So remember, this is miles per hour. So that stands for miles per, which means you divide, hour. So I'm going to take 75 miles per hour and convert it to furlongs per fortnight, starting with setting it equal to itself. And now I'm going to start converting. Now, what is probably best here is to convert all the numerator first and then all the denominator, or vice versa. So don't start converting the numerator, then switch to the denominator and flipping back and forth. It makes it messy, if you will. So let's start with the numerator. So now I want to convert miles. It looks like I need to get to feet because I know that's my conversion for furlongs. So you might remember that 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And now I can do that there are 660 feet in 1 furlong. Feet cancels, miles cancels, and I have successfully converted the unit in the numerator. And now I need to convert the unit in the denominator. So we need to get from hours to weeks. Well, I'm going to remember that I have 24 hours in 1 day. And notice now, since hour is in the denominator of our original units, hours has to be in the numerator here, so those cancel. And now I'm in days. Well, I can do directly, I know that there are 14 days in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks is 1 fortnight. So I can just kind of jump to the end. So 14 days is 1 fortnight. Okay, so now I just got to multiply all that together. I'm going to notice first that days cancel. So I'm going to take 75 times 5,280, divide by 660. And now I'm going to multiply by 24 and multiply by 14. And that gets me 201,600 furlongs per fortnight. Okay. Really quick. I don't have a slide for this, so I'm just going to talk. It might be the case that you need to convert from English units to metric or vice versa. So please remember what I hope you know. I hope that you know that there are 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch. If you don't know that one, think about high school. Think about having to run a mile on your track. Those tracks are 400 meters. And you have to run 4 laps to get 1 mile. So 400 meters times 4 laps is 1,600 meters. So it should be roughly the case that there are 1,600 meters in 1 mile. And the actual conversion is 1,609. So for all intents and purposes, for me, close enough, right? Students seem to have a tendency sometimes to think that everything they learned prior to entering this class is not applicable or not pertinent, or I don't know the correct word. They just have to kind of wash their minds of everything they've experienced in the past 20 some odd years, and that's not the case. Use what you know. It'll help. Okay. That finishes part 3 of Unit 1.